Okay, guys, again, it's Ashton, and I'm going to make the part two of. So now we're engaged, and we are starting to kind of plan for wedding. Me and Dustin aren't really into the big, dramatic, expensive wedding kind of thing. I thought I was. Um, so I started thinking of what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it and where I wanted to do it. But it was starting to look like it was going to be way pricier than I wanted it to be, which everyone still was excited and, um, you know, kind of willing to pitch in wherever they could. That was great, but it was just, we didn't know when it was going to happen. So we started getting impatient, especially me, because he was going to be going back to Virginia and waiting for his orders, which this is about Christmas now, and he kept checking his I don't even know what it was called or what it's called. Anyways, checking to see if his orders had come in to where he'd be going. We were really hoping that he would go to Colleen at Fort Hood. And the day before he went back to Virginia, he got his orders. We were sad, upset. I was a little pissed off, but we had no control. He ended up getting based in Fort Bliss, which is in El Paso, Texas. That's about a half a day's drive, so about 12 hours. That's with stops, and if you're not having to stop for gas very often, then it's a little shorter. But normally you want to take bathroom breaks, you want to make sure you stretch your legs, because if you ride in a car for that long, you can develop blood clots or anything like that, which I'm not a doctor, but it's what we read, because it can happen. My mom was, never mind. Anyways, so he went back to Virginia. He waited and waited and waited, and then finally he left Virginia and went to El Paso. And so fast forward to Valentine's weekend, me and a friend of mine decided that we were going to drive up to El Paso to see him and, hang out for the weekend. And I hadn't seen him since Christmas, so I was having withdrawals from my fiance. So we drove up, we saw him, we hung out, we had a good time. It was great, wonderful. We come home, and I was trying to continue on planning our wedding. It was kind of rough. It was hard to plan, because he was trying to get into the routine of being a soldier, and it was just rough. And so he and I had talked about just he'd come home sometime and we'd just go and get married, justice of peace, or find a little church, have just our family, and then maybe later on we'd have like a reception, which sounds good. My parents were not excited that we were kind of rushing things more. Oops. But they're like, well, we can't really hold you back. I just really wish you would finish cosmetology school and then get married. I understand their concern. I do. And I still do. But for us to be together, in order for, a lot of their concern was, y'all never even lived with each other. I don't know how y'all are going to do this. How are you going to be married to someone that you've never lived with? What if you don't like the way that he lives? What if, you don't like this or that? And I get the concerns. I understand. It's just, I wanted to take a leap of faith because I knew him fairly well. And I say fairly well. I knew him better than people knew that we knew each other, We told each other every single thing. Like, we still do. Sometimes I have to pry it out of him, and sometimes he wishes I would just shut the fuck up. But, it's whatever. So, I decided, and I talked to him about it. He's like, "Are you sure this is a good idea? They're going to be mad. Everyone's going to be mad, blah, blah, blah." I was like, well, I mean, this is what we want to do. This is what I want to do. I'm an adult, legally. And I have always been pretty mature for my age. Like I said in my last video, I wasn't a partier. I didn't enjoy or want to enjoy being young and being drunk. That's not something that was in my agenda. That's not something that I didn't want that to jeopardize any kind of future that I had. And or even take the possibility of having that jeopardize anything that I was going for in my life. And so, I ended up packing a fairly large bag full of a very large majority of my clothing, putting it into my car while no one was home but me. And a friend of mine and her husband at the time were coming to visit me and his family, and then they were going to go home. So Saturday evening, they said, "Hey, meet us," I think it was at Chili's. I was like, okay. And this was also in Sulphur Springs, by the way. I was like, okay, yeah, great. So I met them and was thoroughly surprised, but also did not react correctly. Dustin, when I walked in, they were sitting right there near the door. And so I turned, and there's Dustin, not facing the door. He was looking away from the door. So when I walked in and was like, "Oh my gosh, hi," gave my friend a hug, semi-hugged her husband, did not like him at all. Then I turned to see who else was at the table because I seen more people, and I, wasn't expecting more. I just thought it was them two. And there's my husband. Well, fiance at the time. I'm like, you're going to be in trouble if you get caught away from post. He's like, well, hi there. I missed you too. This is, by the way, like mid-March. I don't know if I said that. So I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. I'm so happy to see you. I gave him a hug. Like, very enthusiastic hug. I mean, he's like, oh my gosh, you did miss me. You're excited that I'm here. Your facial expression and your mouth doesn't say that. I'm like, I'm sorry. I just, not good with surprises. And so we ate lunch, and me and Dustin separated from them. They went to see his family. We were all going to be leaving on Sunday. And, well, he said, we'll get my truck later. No, we're going to follow them. We're going to get my truck. Then we're going to, or did he have his truck? He might have had it, I think. I don't know. Anyways, so he followed me home. By this time, my parents were done with grocery shopping or whatever it was that they were doing earlier that morning. I walk in, and then Dustin walks in, and it's a great surprise. Oh my gosh, how are you? Hugs, chit-chat, whatever. we stayed there for a little bit, and then Dustin got a call from our friends, and they were like, hey, we're going to a friend of mine's house later. Do you guys want to come? We'll stay the night, and then we'll get up and, do whatever, and then we'll leave that night, later on that night or in the morning. Apparently they didn't have work that Monday. I don't remember. Anyways, so Dustin was like, is that good? And I, because I lived at home with my parents, I normally asked them before I did things because that's just out of respect. It's how I was raised. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. We'll see you later or tomorrow, whatever. Well, Dustin was an ammunition specialist, and for some reason, the person that was supposed to be watching the armory was not there, and some alarm at the armory started going off, which I don't know if anyone knows. The armory has a lot of the guns that are handed out to the soldiers for field problems, and also, I believe, taken downrange when they, go. And they had an alarm going off, so everybody was being called in. Well, Dustin's phone had been acting up. It had been crazy, weird, acting, not working properly. And so it's ringing, and one time it wouldn't answer. It wouldn't even slide over to answer the phone. So he's like, I'm just going to turn it off, and I've got to go. I was like, well, I don't have my car. What am I supposed to do? And he was like, you either get in the car with me or you ask, I'm not going to say their names, our friend, if they can take you home in the morning. I'm like, well, I have a bag in your truck. He's like, I know. And I said, it's not packed for overnight. He's like, what do you mean? I said, it's packed for longer than that. So he said, so basically you were coming to El Paso. I was like, yes. I said, and I don't know how long I was going to be there. I said, I could be there, I don't know, forever. I said, people will probably like that, but whatever. I want to be with you, and I want to kind of live with you before we completely get married. And, he's like, well, what about your job? What about school? And I was like, if and when I come back, I can pay what I need to pay to get back into school. I can, either get another job or I can, whatever. Which so Monday when we got to El Paso, I skipped ahead a lot. So we talked about it for about 20 minutes, and I had already set it in my mind that I was going. So we got in the truck, and we took off. We drove for what felt like days, because I had never been on that long of a trip. So we finally get to El Paso at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Dustin calls whoever it was that had been calling him and was like, I'm sorry, my phone's been acting crazy. It turns on and off all the time. I'm going to go get a new phone here in a little bit, which he did, but kind of lied all on top of that. But he really did need a new phone. And they're like, no, it's fine. We got what we needed. We had enough people to cover whatever we were doing, wherever the alarm was going off. And he's like, okay, good. He said, I'm not in trouble. They're like, no, it's fine. We'll see you tomorrow. So we get to his room, and we go to his room, and I get on my phone and I call one of my managers, and I tell him, I'm going to be out for a while. I'm sorry, this is such short notice. I was off for the weekend anyways, through Tuesday. So I didn't go back to work till Wednesday. But I told him, I'm going to be gone for a while. And they're like, well, how long? I was like, let's put me down for 2 months. They're like, 2 months? I'm like, yeah. Well, anyways, get off the phone with them and plug our phones in and went to bed. Dustin is living in the barracks, which is fine for people to come in and out that aren't in the military through the day from, I think, I don't know, probably 6 a.m. till, I think, 11, I believe. I don't know. I can't remember. It's been a while. But anyways, you could go to their rooms, but you had to have your driver's license and you had to sign in. And, you know, and they do room checks to make sure that whoever comes in and signs in, you also have to sign out when you leave. To visit, when you come in to visit, they, after a certain time, they'll come in and they'll check and they'll make sure that, nobody's staying where they're not supposed to be staying, because this is, government housing, basically. It's like dorm rooms, but dorm rooms are more laid back, considering it's for colleges rather than the military. So we didn't have a plan, and because Dustin was so low in rank, he really couldn't move out of the barracks unless he was married. So we talked about it when we woke up, and we went to eat, and we continued to talk about it. Finally, the next few hours, I say a few hours, later on that night, we met up with those friends that had met me at Chili's in Sulphur Springs, and we had dinner. And they're like, what is y'all's plan? And I was like, I don't know. It's kind of up in the air right now. It's just going to be, fly by the seam of your pants kind of thing. So we talked about it. And then on the 16th of March, we were like, okay, we probably need to think about getting married a little bit further instead of just talking about it. He's like, okay. On the 17th, we went and got our marriage license, and that night we were married in a barracks room by someone that we had become friends with. I won't say his name because I don't think he wants the publicity around his name or whatever. He was an ordained minister, and so he married us. Here's the kicker: for our 30-pack of beer. So we basically spent about $40, maybe $60 for our entire wedding, with a dress that I had bought from Walmart a while back, cowboy boots that I already had. Dustin already had blue jeans and this really nice, I think it was paisley, pearl snap button up. We looked very nice, very presentable. We looked for cheaper, ministers or whoever. We even looked into the Justice of Peace. And that was going to be like $150. We really didn't want to spend a lot because, like I said before, we are not all about the amount that we spend on a wedding. It's the love between two people. That's all that matters. It doesn't need fancy roses and all that stuff. I mean, that's fine if that's what you want. But we weren't, it would have been pretty and cool and kind of outrageous for us to do it that way. But I also knew that that's something that my mom wanted for me. My mom and my dad wanted to walk me down the aisle. My mom wanted to be there, And I understand that hurt me as well as it hurt my parents. But I love my husband, and I wanted to be married to him, so that way things would start moving before, I completely moved down there. So we were married that night, and it was wonderful. Beautiful having friends and this person that we considered our friend marrying us. It was wonderful. I appreciate that even till today. And it was lovely. It really was. Anyways, going on. So I lived with him in the barracks for like 3 weeks after we were married, which is a big, 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 big no. Like, you get married, you inform your higher ups, and they normally say, okay, this weekend you need to find a place and skedaddle. And because he had an income and I did not, because I had recently moved to El Paso, it was hard at first because I couldn't go by myself because they wanted income and I didn't have it to prove, and so he had to come with me. So in the weekends we were supposed to do this, and it became very hard because some of the offices for some apartments aren't open on the weekends. Sounds ridiculous, I know, and that's what we kept saying. And so finally one day one of his NCOs said, hey, y'all need to get this taken care of. I know she's living in the barracks with you. That's not supposed to be happening. I'm not going to report you. I just want you out. Both of you. It's going to become a problem. So he said, y'all, I'm going to give you 2 hours. And we knew somebody. Did we know somebody? We knew my friend was living in some apartments, but I really didn't like them. And Dustin didn't either, especially for the price. So we decided to go to this other apartment complex. And we ended up getting an apartment. It was a 1-bedroom, small apartment. I liked it okay. And we had nothing though. We had clothes and that was it. So we're moving into an apartment with no bed, no couches, no TV. Well, Dustin had a TV and his Xbox. That was all he had. And all I had was clothes. So this is where I had a savings account with quite a bit of money in it. And probably about $6,000. And it was linked to my debit card. And all I had to do was either call the bank that I was banking with at the time and tell them, hey, move X amount of dollars. Here's my security code, whatever it is. And they would do it. Or at this point, we had an app and I could do it from the app. So I would move a little bit at a time. So we'd move a little bit at a time, and then and that was one of the things we did whenever we got the apartment. We got the apartment, paid all the deposits and everything like that, and then he went back to work, which, by the way, we only had one vehicle, so if I needed to go grocery shopping or anything like that, I had to wait till he got home, which was fine. So then I don't know. That's what we did that night. So when he got home, we both got in the truck and we went to Walmart. And we got groceries and everything like that. And we had started looking like on Craigslist and other places for like couches, recliners. I think this was before the like true marketplace had happened with Facebook. So we had limited options to look, and we really didn't want to buy anything brand new because we knew it would be way too expensive, and we're trying to make the funds that we had kind of last a little bit longer. Because he only got paid twice a month. So on the 1st and 15th is when he got paid. So, so we did all of that. Then, you know, we had to buy pots and pans and stuff, which, great, cool. So that night I cooked, or the night after. So we went and ate that night after. I think we got Subway from Whataburger. Some Subway from Walmart. So we got everything out of the truck. We went in our apartment and we got stuff fixed up and everything like that. And a friend of ours that my husband had recently become friends with, come over, and we were looking on Facebook, and he was like, or not Facebook, on Craigslist, and Dustin was like, hey, there's a mattress, which most people would say is disgusting to get a mattress off of Craigslist. And I sort of agree, because that is something that you would rather have brand new, or at least hand me down from somebody that you know, because you kind of know what might have gone on with the mattress. But like I said, free mattress, king size mattress, by the way, and it was from an upper class part of El Paso. This woman had put in the comments, I've had it cleaned. I have a receipt to show that it's been, cleaned. So we go. Dustin was, I don't remember what he was doing, but he had to do something. So we took our truck, me and this friend of ours, and went to this lady's house, and we got it on the back of our truck, and it was still damp, like just slightly, but it was really hot, very sunny when we had gone, so it dried on our way home, which is great, but very clean. I mean, you could smell the cleaner still on it, and it was damp. And she showed us the receipt, and she's like, we just got new bedroom sets, all of us. I already got rid of my kids' beds. I didn't know, sorry, we don't have anything else. I was like, oh no, it's just me and my husband were newlyweds. And she's like, oh, congratulations. She said, I hope this mattress does well for you. She said it's like 2 years old. Great. We still have that mattress today, actually. So, and we've been married for 6 years in March. Not this past March, but the next 2020 will be 6 years. Anyways, so we get it home. Let me just tell you, I don't know if anyone that may watch this has ever moved a king-size bed. They're freaking heavy. Heavy. And we lived upstairs. Really horrible. Just horribly heavy. It was a pain, to say the least. So, we put the mattress in our room. We had to go back to Walmart and got sheets and a comforter, or we thought we got sheets. We got this comforter set for like $50, and it come with pillow shams, which is just pillowcases, by the way, and comforter, but we didn't read completely. It didn't come with sheets. It come with a tiny pillow and 2 king size pillowcases and a king size comforter, and that's it. Also, the bed that we had, it was just the mattress, no box spring, and no bed set. So no what is it called? Frame. No bed frame. So we're sleeping on the floor on a mattress, which is fine. However you start off is how you start off, and that's great. And as long as you can somehow get started, that's all that matters. And then we looked for a TV stand, which we found one at Walmart for $50. So we bought it. so we could put our TV in the living room with Dustin's Xbox so we could watch movies and stuff. So we got all that done, and then by the weekend, we had gotten our sheets for our bed, and we had started trying to find couches or even just recliners. It was just the two of us. So we're looking and looking and looking. We finally found a olive green futon couch that had storage underneath it. And I wish I had pictures. And this, like, tan recliner. And they were very good looking. They didn't have any tears. And it was a guy that had just moved into his first apartment from college. And his parents or grandparents or somebody had bought it for him. And they were still in good condition. He said he'd had it probably a year and a half. And he could afford to buy new furniture. So that's what he was doing. And he had already gotten the new furniture. So he was just having to get rid of this stuff. He didn't have to, but he felt like somebody else could use it. He had it on Craigslist listed at $350. So we messaged him and asked him, what's your bottom dollar? And he said $300. And then he's like, let me give you a call and kind of give you more details. So he called my husband, and they talked. Next thing I know, he comes in the house. He's like, I'm going to go get this stuff, and he's going to give it to us for $250. I was like, whoa. He had it for $350. How did you get $100 off? He's like, we were just talking, and he asked if I was going to college here or what it was. He said, no, he's based here in the military. And the guy just shut down and said, $250, come and get it. Here's my address. Just like that. Not everybody is that way. And we understand that. And we appreciate this guy, doing that for us. He said that he has a friend that actually goes to college with him, or was going to college with him, and instead of finishing college, he had decided to join the military, and that he was overseas at the moment, so they hadn't talked in a while. So he felt like giving back. I mean, that's why he gave us such a huge discount, and I appreciate that 100%. He didn't have to do that, because we would have paid, just $300 if he would have been okay with that. $50 off, not $100. I, didn't expect it. It was very nice of him. Anyways, we go and get it. We bring it in. The ugliest futon couch that I've ever seen, but it was pretty comfortable. So, not going to complain about furniture that was so cheap, and we got a deal, very good deal, and it was very clean. It was very nice, comfortable, just horrible color. But anyways, that's beside the point, quality is better than expected for that amount of money, and that's fine, and wonderful, actually. But going on, so we lived in our apartment for about 2 weeks, and first meal, let's go back to that. So our first meal that night, like two or three nights after we'd moved in, I had made pork chops, corn. So I'd made pork chops. I'm sorry, my camera cut off. Pork chops, and I believe corn and something else. I think it was 3 things. I almost want to say mashed potatoes, but I'm not really sure. Anyways, so we sit down and we're going to eat. First meal together that I had cooked for him. Let me just say, it was horrible. Horrible. The meat was tough because I had cooked it way too fast and it was kind of overdone. And oh my gosh, it's just way too salty, everything. You couldn't eat any of it. It was so unedible. I'm on the verge of tears, and all my husband could do was laugh, which made me want to cry even more. But he's like, hey, it was a wonderful presentation, wonderful, thought. He said, but it was just way too salty. Far, far too salty. And he said, we're just going to order pizza, or do you want to go somewhere? And so we did. I think we ordered pizza, and we just sat down and watched a movie, and then got ready for bed. And now fast forward to probably a month of being married. A little over a month. And for some odd reason, I was not feeling well. I woke up and my neck was stiff. I had a headache, like borderline migraine. I was nauseous, sick to my stomach, just couldn't hardly eat, just exhausted as well. And I had gotten at least 10 hours of sleep, because when Dustin would leave for work, I went back to sleep. Excuse me. We would normally go to sleep about 10:30, and then he would get up about 4:30, and then go to work or PT, and either come home, shower, get ready for work, or he would just change at work and then shower when he got home. Just depended on how he felt and what was going on at work whenever they were done with PT. So I just didn't feel good. I didn't feel right. It just, something was wrong. But I just thought maybe it was homesick, because that can happen for sure. And this lasted for almost 2 weeks. And at this point, we were being safe, if you know what I mean, as possible, because we didn't want to have children just yet. We wanted to kind of enjoy each other for a little while before we started having kids. Doesn't mean we weren't practicing, you know what I mean? But anyways, fast forward. And so this went on for, I'm going to say about 10 to 14 days. And I couldn't eat anything. It either went straight through me or come right back up. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. Well, I ended up with a very high temperature. I think when we took our temperature, the battery was low in our thermometer, but it read 107. Dustin's freaking out. He's like, have you taken anything? Tylenol, ibuprofen, anything? And I was like, I took Tylenol about 2 hours ago. He's like, okay. So he said, we're going to wait like 20 minutes, and if your fever doesn't break, or if it goes up, or if it doesn't break, or if it goes up, we're going to the emergency room. Like, okay. About 30 minutes later, he takes my temperature again, and it says 108. I'm not kidding you. When he literally drug me down the stairs, put me in the truck, and drove like a bat out of hell to a hospital. And at this point, I still didn't have my spousal military card. We didn't have our insurance stuff together. I mean, we had started on it, but they told us that they would give us a call when it was valid, whenever it was all updated and put in the system, which could take 7 days to a month, because they don't work very fast. Military, or the Army at least, is hurry up and wait. And it's 100% accurate. So we go to a hospital, and I called my mom, which At this point, I had called my mom and told her, I'll go back to that. Or maybe I'll make another video. I don't know. We'll see. So at this point, I call my mom and I'm like, hey, I'm going to the emergency room. I've got a really high temperature. I don't feel good. I can't keep anything in my system. I'm just calling to make sure that I'm good to use your insurance. Because my mom said that she would keep me on their insurance if possible. And also until I was on Dustin's. So at this point, I think we were coming to a deadline. Anyways, and she was like, yeah, just whenever you get the hospital bill, either file it on your insurance with the military or, just take care of it whenever we get the bill. I was like, okay. So we get in the hospital and they take me to an exam room and they get me in the gown and whatnot and they hook all these machines up to me. My blood pressure was 160, no, 220 over 170. Let me say that again. 220 over 170. That's like really bad. Really bad. They said that they took blood and everything, tested for pregnancy. I wasn't pregnant. So they started testing for more things. They did tell me I was severely dehydrated. And then we told him, I couldn't keep anything down, water, anything. So he said, okay, that makes a lot of sense why you're so dehydrated. Now let's see what is actually wrong. So they start running tests. My blood pressure is still really high. My heart rate was like 3 times over normal limit. They said that it was that there had to be a reason behind it. One, they asked me if I was in pain. I said yes, I have severe abdominal pain. I have a headache. My neck is really stiff and sore. I can't hardly move it. My body's weak. Everything like that. It kind of felt like the flu and pneumonia mixed. Had a love child or a hate child. I don't know. Anyway, so they're running tests and running tests and running tests. And just FYI, don't drink the water in El Paso. Because their filtration system is just okay. Lots of people have drank that water and gotten super, super sick. Me being one of them. I didn't think anything of it, and I was just drinking tap water. That's what I had done all my life. You just go to the sink, get a cup, maybe put some ice in it, and then get tap water. That's all I was raised on, We don't buy bottled water. If we buy bottled water, it's for the grown-ups. Anyways, moving on. Finally, they come back in. They're like, okay, well, you have a bacterial and viral infection that is in your stomach. So your stomach acid is tainted. And I was like, okay, so what do we do to fix it? I'm allergic to a lot of antibiotics. So they were very limited on what they could give me. And I was in so much pain, and I had the shakes, and I had a fever still. And so because they wanted me to calm down, because it was really messing with everything. High blood pressure and rapid heart rate is very bad. Very, very bad. It can relate, or it could possibly lead to something more severe. heart attack, stroke, everything under the sun that has to do with possible death. So they give me a pill, Phenergan, I believe, and I was very small. I'll put a picture to show you how little tiny skinny I was. Okay, excuse me. I'll put a picture so you can understand why they give me such a low dose. It didn't work. The pill form did not work. I think it was 5 grams. I don't know. It was a very small. Well, they ended up, because it wasn't relaxing me. They said within 5 to 10 minutes I should have been asleep. It should have knocked me out. It did start bringing my heart rate down and everything like that. But my fever wasn't broke, so they gave me Tylenol and then ibuprofen, sorry, because I had taken Tylenol an hour and a half, 2 hours before that, or 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours before that. So they wanted to, the back and forth, Tylenol, ibuprofen. So we did that. And it was starting to work a little bit, but they really were concerned that my heart rate and everything should have gone down a lot more than it had. So they decided that they were going to give me an IV liquid amount of Phenergan. Still did not knock me out. I think I had 10 milligrams together, which should have knocked out a grown man of about 180 pounds, is what they were telling me. I could be wrong. I don't know a lot about medicine. I'm not a doctor. Anyway, so they give me that and also inform me, we took, blood, we took urine. You weren't pregnant, but if for some reason you were pregnant, it would terminate the pregnancy. And I was like, okay, but I'm not pregnant, so all good. And they're like, okay, good. So we end up leaving the hospital with a prescription, along with a prescription for an antibiotic, along with a prescription for Benadryl, a high dose Benadryl. Because, like I said before, I'm allergic to a lot of antibiotics. They told me that it would probably take a little bit longer for me to get over the bug, the viral and bacterial infection, because viral infections are not affected by antibiotics. Bacterial, or I might have that backwards. One of them is not affected and cannot be treated with antibiotics. So, it took about 2 weeks for me to feel normal again. Thank goodness. And we went back to kind of just living as we were. Cooking. Some nights it would be edible, some nights it would not. But that's trial and error, period. Now I'm a pretty good cook if I say so myself. Anyways, so therefore, we go on with our day and everything like that. And then I think that I'm coming back down with this bug. And I'm like, oh, I haven't drank the water. If I'm going to make like tea, I make sure that I boil it. So they told me if I was going to, make tea or make anything with water, that it needed to be boiled before putting it into something so that any bacterial, things that were in the water would be killed. So I'm like, I don't know how in the hell I'm getting sick all over again. It was different this time. Just really, really different. I didn't feel good. Even more exhaustion, no fever, no stomach pain, just very nauseous. Headaches, but they were manageable. But the exhaustion is what really took a toll on me. It was horrendous, to say the least. But there was a reason, and it's a happy but sad reason. And if you want to hear more, click down below, comment, tell me if this may be something that, whatever. I'm going to make another video. So there's going to be a part 3. And I hope to see everybody's comments and everyone's, feedback on the video. And I really hope that you can like and share this with people that may be able to relate with getting married behind your parents' backs, that's kind of another story that I probably need to kind of integrate into this story times, because that really took a toll between not only me and Dustin, but my parents and Dustin. It made for a few rough years, is all I'm gonna say. Not only for him, but for me too, because that's my parents, he's my husband, But I will make another video on that, and then I will make a video to kind of continue with this, because this video is going to be extremely long. But I think it's going to be better than the first video. But please comment, like, share, subscribe. Yeah. All right. Peace.